Underdog Daily with the Badge Bros, Jon and Nez here. We let it run as long as we could let it run there. We were waiting out lulls there. They're still going a little bit there, and I imagine many of you are still over there because it's just really interesting time. Really interesting time. It's kind of evergreen year over year that this point in the calendar when the market gets flooded with some of the more casual best ball players and such that the takes start flying. And yeah, and there was a big hot debate over the weekend there about what should be allowed in our games, real-time assistance, and all these kind of solver words being thrown out there. And I think we got to take a step back here. We got to talk about the industry as a whole and stuff there. I thought there were some really good points on the Lulls show there. I was happy that the ETR guys went on, both very well spoken and very intelligent in this forum. Nez, and I tend to agree with a lot of the takes that are being shared there. But I think one big starting point for me, dude, is like we got to take a step back and be like, this is not anything that is out there right now does not fall into the bracket of solver or of real time assistance. None of these programs that are currently available or out there are that. And those are the terms that keep getting thrown around over and over and over again. And anything that is forward facing and being sold right now is none of the above.
I mean, how is it not real-time assistance? It is assisting you in making decisions. It doesn't mean that it's going to assist you in making money because of the best ball game being insanely random, inherently random. But like, I think how is it not falling under that bucket? You're gonna have to walk me to that one.
Real-time assistance implies that there's an absolute definitive answer. So that the end spit out is binary. So it's like in terms of like it's assisting you and it's a draft assistant tool
in real time.
Yeah, but it's not absolute. That's the biggest differentiating factor for me. It's not definitive. It's not the answer.
In poker, though, like you don't know what's coming on the flop. Like you may have an idea, but like
but the rules are binary and clearly defined. So the poker analogy is like real-time assistance is definitively the answer key. Whereas in our game, it's not because we have no idea because like the hand being played is the draft, but we have no idea what those hand values are worth until we play the actual games. And that's different than in poker because the hand values right now definitively define the outcome because the payout happens right after the hand. We don't have to wait for that secondary variable. And that's the biggest thing that I think is getting confused with the term real-time assistance.
Yeah, I think it's just like an easy way to define what these tools are, which is like assisting you in real time. So I
think it's just misconstruing the reality of it. So I do think you're right. Yes, these tools are assisting you in real time. I just think when people use the traditional definition, they think they're more powerful than they actually are. That's all.
I won't disagree with that. Like this is just another chapter in the conversation that we have had for like 3 years now on this stuff and how with best ball tournaments, and we originally had this conversation about, the first boogeyman, the first shoot a drop was like Underdog released best ball draft data and they put the usernames behind it. And I know initially you were like, I don't like that. And I was like, I don't care who Pat Corain drafted last summer. It's a new season. That's not going to – I have an idea of what good structures are. Like, in that regard, who cares? And with real-time assistance, I don't care that people are using ETR ranks and doing a better job at using them. I don't care because it's 1 through 16 in weeks 14 or weeks 15, weeks 15 and 16. Like, how is that going to that doesn't help you? Obviously, that isn't like that is not what people should be worried about. And I know not everybody that's upset at these are worried about that specific problem. There's a lot of different things being talked about, but that specifically, like your edge is just as poor as it was before this solver came out. I promise.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so maybe let's take one big step back here and let me lay some foundationary groundwork for this conversation. We are affiliated with Underdog. We are not representatives of Underdog, and we are not members of the company. We do not receive paychecks from Underdog Fantasy. So anything that we share or whatever is not inside knowledge. It's not anything. It's just Nez and I's, takes. Like that's literally what we are. We are players on the site. And I heard this critique on Twitter when I was, retweeting some of my stuff from the past. It's like, well, what do you care? You're on the take for Underdog. And it's like, no, I've never received a paycheck from Underdog in my whole life. Like, period. Like I can say it there. And then I can say that the solver, I had some consulting behind closed doors and some meetings with those guys and talked about it. I have a laundry list of notes for them on the product. I've utilized the product. That's all the takeaway is there. I've never received a dime from them either. And then the same can be said for the caddy, legendary upside, dating back to Spike Week. Never received a dollar for that. Maybe that changes in the future with legendary upside with the sidekick tool. Anything else to add to the groundwork?
No, but that is like, there's so many people, and thankfully, like, we're not at that level where I don't think we're getting any trolls in the chat, but like Law's had just an insane amount of trolls. But no, that is important groundwork. Bria watches a lot of celebrity gossip and tarot card celebrity reading, and they always have to mention entertainment purposes only, allegedly. And that was great. That was great legal groundwork by you.
Okay, now let's talk about the intricacies of some of the tools and utilizing them, because there's two separate conversations here in my estimation. One is the best ball conversation and one is the daily conversation, right? Because the best ball one, I'm considerably less concerned about, right? I'm
not concerned about it at all.
Right. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it, because essentially they're just overlapping rules for stuff that we all have collectively accepted. That, some of these principles that we definitively do not know if they are correct yet, right? We do not have a big enough sample, but some of the agreed upon principles are, stacking is good. Week 17 correlation might be good. Like there's some of these principles, and they are weighting them in some fashion so that you can draft more at once. I love the fact that I can draft more at once. And that's the number one utilization case for this, in my opinion. What about you, Nez?
Sorry, the question being,
like, what is your use case for current tools right now? Best ball specific.
Best ball specific. I use leg up ranks, and if I'm multi-tabling, I'll throw the sidekick on sometimes. That's it. Like, yeah. I personally find a lot, take a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun drafting teams myself, coming to some of my own conclusions, and getting inherently different through my own flavor and my own draft style. And hope that I realize my edge before I die. That's what I like to. That's how I like to play best ball.
Which is more or less exactly how I feel about it too, man. Like it's just, yeah. Okay, let's talk about it through the lens of the daily games, because I think it becomes a little bit more.
Let me put the armrest down for this.
Right. Yeah. This is where it starts to become a little less welcomed, right? Because one of the biggest things with the daily games is it is a labor of love. It is time consuming. It is whatever. So a place in which I start to get scared is if someone has a mass auto queue of all their pre-made stacks, knowing their exposure for their 150s, and then they use the auto draft function on Underdog to go 150 enter now, and then a tool automatically preloads the queue with all of the potential combinations. I know I want X amount of Marlin stacks today. I know I want X amount of this. I know I want X amount of 3-2 builds, 3-1-1 builds, 4 1s, and 5 mana onslaughts. And I can perfectly distribute that amongst that. And I can use 2 or 3 clicks to get all of that in there. And then I manually swipe on my phone the buttons. That's my biggest fear going forward. That's what I want to protect against. Thoughts, concerns, whatever.
Yeah, that's the slippery slope. And right now, the prize pools aren't necessarily, you know, enticing enough for somebody to put in that much effort. But if they did want to put in that effort, they would realize their return on investment, I think, pretty quickly, because not only are you building good lineups and you're not duping yourself, you're one of the only people in baseball dailies being able to put in that amount of volume. I'm hopefully gonna, once we get a babysitter in this house, look out, guys. But like right now, like I try really hard to get volume in, and I sacrifice EV by doing so, because I am duping myself sometimes. I am not building the combinations that I want to sometimes, and like, you know, it hasn't been overly successful in trying to do that. But if you have that ability to do that, and I'm only getting max, like half maxed, you know, and that's like trying really hard. So I think baseball is like the biggest exploitable game that could happen with. And
yeah, football's probably pretty close too, and the prize pools are bigger because you could come up with the stacks that you want to do and stuff like that. But the difference in football is people will fight you more for combinations, whereas baseball, people kind of stay in their lanes.
Sure. And I would also argue football is safer because like you have a week to draft.
True. Yeah.
Like,
The time isn't
you are up against a lot of different 150 maxers. How many people are putting in 100 plus MLB drafts a day?
3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, Ricky, Seedmeister, Brad, and the Wood.
Yeah.
So
that's like the big thing for me. And even in NBA, you know, if you had something to just like avoid dupes, that'd be pretty good. You know, I think smart people would want that. So that's, to me, is like the boogeyman. Now, I think that there are easy ways, and we'll get there, not to completely jump topics. I do think that there is pretty easy ways Underdog could help everybody else, and just even the playing field at best for something like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, maybe let's shelf that for 1 second, and then we'll get to potential solutions in a second here. Yeah, Chris, another guy who is always maxing as well. Okay, one thing I wanted to say about the daily games and the utilization of the solver is it was in beta previously, and this sort of thing. We used it on the stream for a couple drafts at a couple points in time there with the solver. There are inherent flaws with the product itself where it, and this is not to disparage the product, they're going to make amendments and charge. This would be true of the caddy as well. This would be true of the sidekick if it was utilizable for dailies. There's inherent flaws because we don't know answers yet. We do not have a big enough sample size to know answers yet. So one of the things I'm most scared of is Underdog releasing daily samples. To go back to what you said originally, be about me being protective of BBM, I'm more so because I want people, and I want players in particular, to pay the money for those experiences and not just be given them, right?
I like that.
I'm very scared of one day Underdog releasing, like, here's 4 years of baseball data, and then any machine can just solve in terms of combos. I like the fact that Nerdy Tanner and those guys who came in here trying to solve football last year had to be in the fucking streets creating their own sample, this sort of thing. So one big thing for protecting the daily games, in my estimation, is protecting the data and making people collect it on their own right. Because the way in which poker got fast tracked, 10 years, was you went from Poker Tracker and Hold'em Manager, where you were tracking all your own stuff, looking at your own leaks, your own player tendencies, all this sort of thing, which I'm entirely for right now, because you can do that right now with some of these tools. You could look at the Spike Week stuff, look at my exposures every single day, come to your own conclusions. What I'd most be fearful of is here's a data dump, and then everyone just goes to work behind closed doors of, oh, now we have the answers to work off. That is providing the answer key, right?
Yeah, and the one thing I will say is, like, they only have to play one entry a slate in order to get that data. But like at least it's an entry a slate, and not just like, and I guess it does kind of make this more of a barrier to entry as opposed to like, any Joe Schmo getting this data. They have to build a scraper and go through and take all the lineups off the platform in order to find that information as well. So like, yeah, at least they have to the play to get it. But no, I think you're right about that. Like, we have so many more samples in the dailies to try to do some work on that front.
One more question for you associated with the daily stuff. Brick brought it up a couple times on the Lull show there about app only, especially for the daily forward-facing games. Is that something you would be in favor of because you can't use apps overlaying other apps on most devices? I mean, there's ways to find around it. You can run an Android emulator on your computer and then overlay, but it does make it a lot harder to find some things if because it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of stuff to protect the investment in draft games. And we had a commitment from Rudman and commitment from their hiring practices and whatnot that they've been protecting these games for longer than most of the people watching right now have been playing them. And I really trust in them to do so, but they're going to have to spend to compete with the wrongdoers who come into this space, not in reference to any of the products that are legally available right now. So I want to ask you, does the idea of being app only work for you? Because I was using the solver for NBA for a little bit, and one of my complaints associated with it is it does not work in the active tab, right? And that is how the mass multi-drafters draft on Underdog is literally within this active tab and jumping around within this. We don't open each isolated window. And the only way to multi-table with the solver was to open 1, 2, 3, 4, then size them accordingly, and then do 4 at a time like that. You and I and everyone in this community knows greatly that this is how you navigate drafting on the app. Now, could you make something for this interface? Absolutely. But to mitigate that potential future problem, would you like to see app only, that sort of deal in terms of daily draft games?
No.
Okay.
Like definitively no.
Okay.
Because like RIP the prize pools. It's just it would be such a massive hit to the prize pool, at least for like MLB. It would be a pretty big deal.
So what portion of the player pool do you think playing dailies every day is app based?
As far as entries go, maybe 25%.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I would have thought it was way higher than that. Yeah, you're talking total entries into a contest, not just users.
Correct. Yeah, which I think is like what really matters.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have thought it was way higher. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It'd be very interesting information. I think it'd be north of 60% come from app based, because I think even some of the sickos, they play mobile facing, and they've told us as such. They do a lot of their computer work, and then they would punch in how many drafts they're going to do, and then they finish on their phones, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a bit of a hybrid. Like I do both, but like, yeah, I like the ability to bounce on the active tab and kind of bleed clock. Not necessarily a friendly face to see in the lobbies if I'm in the middle of bleeding clock, but yeah, it at least for baseball. NBA is like way different. NBA, you can do that from your phone. I could have Mellow draft NBA for me because I have rank set and I'll just here type in the buttons like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, there's another one that comes to mind here. Chris bringing up plot twist. Underdog's been spending the entire time building a real-time assistant tool in app. Yeah, so basically to use lack of a better analogy, like the poker stuff, or we could use video games as an analogy, is basically like tools get so, let's use Pete's term, table stake, or they get so elementary that the barrier to entry no longer requires you to pay for them outside, that then they just incorporate them into the app. So evolution of poker was like, pre-flop raise and VPIP became such standardized metrics of talking that then you go on GG Poker, when GG Poker was kind of like the latest app to drop and like the new biggest and baddest to scoop market share from like Poker Stars and Party Poker and stuff like that. They built into their platform like those standard metrics that back in the day you would have to have external software for. So they built them into the platform, and then you could go back and see hand histories that you had played against a person right within your app, opposed to using the third-party overlay. And then they banned all third-party software. Is that something foreseeable for you? Is that a slippery slope? Is that a good decision, bad decision on Underdog's front?
Well, I mean, if we're getting into like this part of like the conversation, like Pandora's box is like 100% been opened. And right now, this is just the truth. We were affiliated. They're turning a blind eye to this stuff. And you can say, and that maybe this is partly true, the lack of statements is the statement. It's out there. They're okay with it. It's getting to the point where now we need clear defined terms. What is and what is not allowed. The problem is they cannot police it. There's no way to police the boogeyman, which is the daily auto drafter. If there is, I would love to know how. But you can't police that. There's just no way. There's just no way to know unless now we have captchas on every single draft. Yeah, that sounds good for the mass the maxer. Right. Yeah, let me check a "Are you human" box every time I enter a draft. That's not going to fucking work.
Right. And then eventually, Nez, there's always going to be ways around it, because like even for the poker sites that banned the software and stuff, actually I kind of got a funny story. There was a dude who I was playing on Bodog and Ignition for a long time, and it was because there was no software and there was anonymous tables, so nobody knew who you were. So the only data in which you could collect was just at the table at the time, right? But that's being said, knowing that they're anonymous tables, you don't know whose screen name is what, so people could be actively colluding against you behind closed doors, because they'll be like, I'm on table 9645. I'm seat 4. What seat are you? Okay, I'm seat 2. Okay, I have king queen. Oh, there's a dead king in this deck. Like that kind of thing. Anyways, long story short, told a guy this at a wedding one time, and it was a bunch of poker people there, and then he said, oh man, I've been colluding those games for years with this. You've been playing those, whatever. I just fucking punched him in the face at the bar. I just punched him in the face.
I didn't punch Sam Olsen when I met him, man.
Well, Sam Olsen ain't cheating the games.
Kidding.
But yeah,
he just true my ass.
True story. Just right to my face. What stakes you been playing? Like, I was like, anything 1K plus. Man, me and my buddy been colluding those for years. Anyways, then offered to basically sell you external software, which is running another computer adjacent to your computer, overlaid onto your computer, so that it's non-trackable. So my point being of this analogy in this story is shitty people with shitty moral compasses, with shitty intentions, will always find shitty ways to get around all of this. So I want to hear a statement from Underdog. It was alluded in the chat there and on the previous show that one is coming. I imagine they were waiting for Pete to do his show today and us to do our show today and that sort of thing. And they're talking about it internally and that sort of thing. But I agree with you. I have no idea how you police against bad actors forever, unless it's just a one size fits all, nothing is allowed, basically, or we're app only. And even app only, as I alluded to, you can run emulators and run overlays and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it can never go app only. It would be very bad. It would be very bad, because like clearly, like they get so much ad time, marketing hours out of us and everybody else that are streaming on YouTube. I mean, sure, you could find a way to stream on your phone and put it up on the screen, but like, yeah, that wouldn't fly. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to say, like high level, random thoughts, that sort of thing, before we get into? I pulled up a couple tweets from the community because I wanted to be like use them as prompts for talking points, as community jump off. Make this a communal discussion, not just you and I, circulating opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say is like the best thing that the Underdog could do to help even the playing field for people, especially in baseball, and I just love baseball, and it's such a small percentage of the BR prize pools like over the course of the year, but that like it's not a big of a deal for anybody else. But and I mentioned this on prior shows is not dynamic queue. Well, like you know, changing your queue or your rankings rather in daily drafts and not having it affect ongoing drafts, giving you a dialog box that asks, do you want this to affect ongoing drafts? Yes or no? Or just straight up say, hey, heads up, changing ranks will not affect ongoing drafts moving forward, which like I think the dialog box makes more sense. That would be huge. If I could type in 10, enter a draft, create new ranks, enter 10, enter draft, create new ranks, you would increase best daily baseball volume by like 25%. And that's
Yeah.
like easy 25% by doing that.
Yeah, I like that as a overarching take. I don't know how it would work, obviously tech based side, but someone internal creates the ability to do that. I do think it would have to be a toggle option, like because there are certain situations where, especially in hoops, but let's use the baseball analogy for now, where a player is not in the lineup and you've already put out 10, and now those ranks are locked. You would definitely need the ability to change in real time, so a toggle option would work better, I think.
That's the dialog box. Do you want this to change on to go
No,
in
no, no.
drafts?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you pitched it as two ways. I'm saying
Yeah.
you would definitively have to have that in my
Mhm.
estimation. But yeah, I think that's a good a tool, internal tool to share with the people there. Yeah, I need the same one that Davis is asking for here. The "Are you sure you want to scroll to Joe Adele" box? That's pretty good. Capture before each pick. Oh my god, can you imagine? That's crazy. Yeah, there was some other stuff from the well stuff that we could go into, but I think we've done kind of good job on this. These are all not new conversations. I talked about it from the lens of best ball on Friday's show there. If you guys want to go back during the best ball draft at the end there, I did about 20 minutes on it as well with some thoughts. We've had these conversations many times. It just happened to be hot button issue in the community right now over the weekend. So
we have a pretty good
sorry.
audience. We are so niched within niches that
Yeah.
like our audience is like already pretty well versed in these conversations and understanding what does affect your edge and what doesn't. So yeah. I
Let's
think we did a good job.
Yeah, let's tie a bow on it with if you agree or disagree with me, like kind of like my want list um to protect against, perhaps. One would be protecting all the house data. I never want the daily stuff released. That's number one for me. Number two would be auto cues and stuff like that, where I want people to be forced to push the button or push the plane. Like that one stands out to me. I'm not a fan of auto drafters in the daily streets, and I don't think it has to come like app only, but I do think like someone has to push some button somewhere. And then like AI utilization for swaps and drafting, how we protect against that. That would be because the biggest death to the games, in my estimation, in the daily space would be this Billy Jones tweet that he brought up here. Which I tend to agree, like this is kind of the death to it. Let me zoom that in, where he just says, imagine a world where, sorry, let me click here. Imagine a world where you set your desired allocation for 150 drafts. A solver bubbles up, right people to pick, 25 zero RB, 50 hero RB, boost blank percentage to stacks. And then the skill isn't drafting anymore. It's just inputting into the settings of the site. That is my number one thing. He's referencing best ball here. I'll use it to reference protecting the daily games. I don't want that to happen, where we're basically just, putting, for lack of a better word, a solver or a sim for a daily slate.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was saying for dailies. Is what we really can't have, because it's just, it maximizes your own edge if you are able to do this like on so many levels.
Mhm. Mhm.
Which
Exactly,
is like
dude.
not a great like stay away point. Sounds like a selling point for somebody to find a way to do it, but it's just true.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to share with everybody as Davis was rolling through in the chat. We'll be jumping on with him for the scheduled release party on Wednesday. He's going to have a marathon stream there. I think the Flannelverse, Neil Orfield, is going to have a marathon stream as well there for big schedule NFL schedule release. So we'll be hopping on for at least an hour of that. So just want to put that on people's radars. I believe I tagged it somewhere below here. A couple other ones that I just thought were good to share with the community. Our guy Easy had a really good analogy here where, this is just kind of like Cabby used the expression as well. Taylor used the expression of raising the floor. And I do think that's what these current iterations of the tools do right now. And I'm perfectly fine with them in their current development and state right now, because it does just simply raise floor. And he made the analogy of it being like bumpers in bowling on the bowling lane. It's not going to help you roll a bunch of strikes and bowl 300. It's just going to make sure you don't throw gutter balls, and you're still liable to bowl 80 with the gutters up if you suck at bowling.
No, that was like spot on for sure. For the, I mean, I don't know if it's going to resonate with the people that need to hear this, but like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was spot on.
Yeah. And then last one I wanted to bring up was Noah's. I thought Noah's tweet was really good here. And just a real-time question. I'll retweet it so everybody can see it there. Just a real-time question to ask you. Why don't we just start with you? The real question is, would you enjoy drafting or playing? Is kind of like the thing that so much have been made about EV and edge and that sort of thing. I really liked when Pete said, people are acting entitled, that they're entitled to this EV.
Yeah, I
That's
like that too.
Yeah, that's not the case at all. I mean, like, these people, you don't deserve anything in terms of EV in this world, guys. Like, games get harder. It doesn't matter what the game is. If it's Call of Duty, if it's bowling, if it's slow pitch baseball, the games get harder when someone gets the new bat or the new elite controller or whatever it is. This is just a natural evolution of the game. But I do think a separate question that stems off of it all from Noah is, the real question is, would you have fun drafting? Can we draft against non-human opponents and still have fun on this app? Would you still want to draft?
Yeah, I would still want to, but it would not be fun, especially if I'm getting my ass kicked. If I'm winning and I'm beating you, and you're trying to do things that are against terms of service and I'm still beating you, then that's cool. Then, like, it's still my brain versus yours and I'm making better decisions. But if I'm losing because of, a factor that I don't have access to and is, not legal, no, it's not fun. And it's mostly because I'm just like fucking pissed, it's winning is, I like to win. That's really what, like, yeah, this shit is fun and I love our community and, and the people that, we chat with and whatnot, like, love that. But I like winning, and it's not fun to lose, and especially if you're losing to nefarious actors.
Yeah, well said, dude. Well said. How do you protect that? How do you protect the we're only going to play peer versus peer forever?
Well, I mean, you are still, people still have to make the inputs. It's just, they're able to get more volume and cover their bases more, and thus have an advantage over you. So it's still peer to peer. It's just like an unfair advantage. And, having dynamic rankings, or, rankings that can be changed while you are still drafting, is one way to help out the average Joe that is a phone shitter, bro, with, a bankroll to play with. That's how you even the playing field in a really big way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the one big unspoken thing about all of the daily stuff is the number one, regardless of what tool there is, regardless of what inputs you put into a tool that is illegal that you find a way to utilize. The 101 of dailies, especially in hoops and stuff like that, will be the 1% lineups created via collusion. And I think Underdog already does a very good way of protecting that right now. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. We know for a fact that, there are people that have not been banned, but like have had a good hard look at. So like they're definitely proactive, which like I feel great about in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah, me too. I feel safe there. Oh, my bad. Neil's marathon isn't on Wednesday. He was talking about a 24-hour stream, and I thought it was going to be something there. Maybe it was just a joke that Pete was making. I was half paying attention. I'm not gonna lie. All right, dude. I think that's kind of everything I wanted to hit on to start here. You had a really good tweet about it. I retweeted that one. Everybody go check out Nez's tweet on it. Yeah, just very clear and concise and to the point. Anything you want to say on that, Nez?
No, I don't know if it was clear or concise or to the point, but I just like had some words to get out, which is essentially everything I kind of talked about here, which is like time to draft is a limiting factor, but it's because it's by design,
Yep.
and it's just it is what it is like the TLDR, and what happens when you find a way to skirt that.
Yeah.
You know.
I really liked Davis's piece on it as well. He made it free there, so check out Davis's stuff there. I took a screenshot of a portion of it that I thought was directly applicable and shared it as a point that I really liked. So yeah, let's keep this conversation ongoing and let's talk about it as it goes. But for both you and I, Nez, up until this point, everything that is forward facing and readily available, I think we're kind of all like, oh, this is in compliance with terms of service and this all seems good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll try something on the side here for a second to add some further context, but I think this would be a good time to just jump into the slates that are today. I think it's going to be a little more quick and dirty than usual because we just used 40 minutes talking about the hot relevant topic of the bunch there. Yeah, let's talk about the hoops, man. Let's talk about this Boston and Knicks series. Boston came out, finally knocked down some threes, took care of business in the Garden for Game 3 of this series. Ability to do so again this evening potentially, and then we got this Warriors team without Steph Curry again at home. Minnesota up 2-1 in that one. I will bring up the beautiful Unabated interface when we talk about spreads and totals. But yeah, kind of the macro landscape for you on this slate, Nez.
Yeah, I'm worried about our Knicks and the ability to close out this series. They really got smacked in the teeth last game out. So hopefully they can bounce back here. It's so funny, man. These are like two of the same like archetypes of games, sequestered on each slate. Like the 200 totals are on one night, and then the 220s are on the other night, which makes for like kind of like very, very different feels of drafting. My player pool today, 25 players deep. It's not deep. And I am right now. I have a ton, and I have trouble not getting to Jaden McDaniels right now. And people apparently think Buddy Hield is Steph Curry, so I have like no Steph. I have like no Buddy Hield.
I like that. I think one of the biggest talking points, dude, is going to be Jonathan Kuminga as well. His projection up considerably compared to, hat tip to us. We talked about this at the outstart of this series that they would need to run a 5. They have ran 3 separate 5s. They had a random, post starts, then Trace Jackson Davis starts, then Kevin Looney plays the most out of the minutes out of the 5s the other night there. So hat tip to us on that. And then we kept pounding the table for, Kerr is just going to have to swallow his fucking pride and play Jonathan Kuminga because they need some scoring and they need someone else who can attack the basket with the ball in their hands better than Pods and Buddy Hield. They're going to need him to attack the basket in a big way. So how are you treating Jonathan Kuminga today? There's a non-zero chance he could start. There's a non-zero chance Steve Kerr could just go, fuck this guy again, and he plays 15 minutes. Thoughts on that kind of pivotal decision on the slate?
I've got 20% Kuminga right now. And I think I had to because I wanted to have around that, that much Jonathan Kuminga at like a reasonable rank. And I did have to raise him a little bit in order to get to that mark. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of these slates are very interesting, these 4-game slates and the projections and stuff. And you kind of have to guess as far as what people's ranks are. I originally had Mikal Bridges over Kuminga. Sure. So I had to change that. And I had Draymond over Kuminga, and I had to change that. So yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to see Kuminga play again. I mean, he played 35 minutes, and he played 26 the night before.
You think he starts?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to play a ton.
Yeah, so you don't think it matters if he starts or not?
I maybe that's bad, but no, I don't think so.
Okay. Do you think one of Peyton or Moses Moody, who was kind of the odd man out in recent memory, do you think either of them start, or do you think they go back to this Biggs starts?
I feel like they got to run big.
Okay. So do you think it's going to be Post or Trace Jackson-Davis this evening?
Well, didn't correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Looney get a bunch of run?
Yeah, but he didn't start. Who do you think is going to start? You think Looney starts?
Well, he played more than Trace Jackson-Davis, didn't he?
Yep, played 18 minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't he started in playoff series prior. I don't know.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't think it matters.
Okay, so you don't want a piece of him anyways in the last round?
Not really, man. Okay. Yeah, the 19 minutes of TJD was cute, but and I thought he looked fine, and then they immediately came out next game and only played him 10 minutes. So, and they really went away from him down the stretch of the regular season. Yeah, that I'm not even he's not on my radar.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that seems good. So who is your 24th and 25th player then?
It is Peyton Pritchard, and the player just out of frame there is Mike Conley.
Okay. So you like Mike Conley. You like Mike Conley over the potential of Looney starting, Peyton starting, that sort of stuff? Okay.
Yeah, and even then, I'm not it's not like I'm drafting Mike Conley, but
okay. I think the most difficult range in the draft, Nez, in my estimation, is because Kuminga is going quite high today. A lot of rooms are letting Buddy Hield fall, as you alluded to earlier. I think the most difficult decision in the draft rooms right now are these four. This Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Al Horford, who has started every game of this series except for the first one there, where Zinger was out, and then the Zinger decision there, where can we see an expansion of him? Can we see him draw back into the starting lineup? It's all been very, very strange with him.
It's been really, really strange, but he's going in the 6th round. So you can basically have your cake and eat it too with Zinger.
Is there any merit to being he might start tonight, or he plays north of 22, 24, because we did see an uptick, and that wasn't that close of a game, but we did see him go from 12 minutes, 13 minutes to bang, 18 minutes. Is there any merit for being I'll be the guy who takes Zinger in the 5th and then gets a scroll that no other Zinger team's going to get in the 6th?
I mean, there's just not a lot of places to scroll. I have Porzingis ranked 21 and I have 31%. So I mean that feels great.
Okay. All right, Nez, let's hop in and see what it looks like on the fly, unless there's any other macro stuff you want to talk about, potential rotations. I mean, it's hard because this is the fourth game for both of these series. Everyone's only playing 8. The most, Warriors play 9 sometimes. Most interesting decisions in the slate, in my opinion, are the ones that we already kind of hit on there. Is there anyone else that like is jumping up and down for you that you're like, yeah, fucking, we got to talk about this guy because Jon's an idiot. He's worth way more than his current ADP or whatever.
I mean, I have a lot of OG, a lot of Jaden McDaniels, and a lot of Drew Holiday. Those seem to be my big 3.
Okay. Yeah, the evergreen discussion of like Hart versus OG versus Bridges. We've seen the most consistency from Bridges. We know the highest ceiling, traditionally speaking, and fantasy point per minute output is Josh Hart. And then we've seen some huge ceiling from OG. And then the last 3 games, he's just fallen flat on his face and had like 4 fantasy points last time out there. So that decision of the 3 wings, which one you want from the Knicks, is just kind of evergreen at this point. And it sounds like, you've kind of planted your flag a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just always an OG guy, but like I have 22% Hart, so I'm not like fully planting my flag. I think I have a lot of OG because he scored like 5 fantasy points last time out.
And everybody else is looking at the box score and pushing him down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going back to the OG. Well, that's my guy.
Okay, cool. We're going to hop into draft here. We got 270 of us hanging out. Hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, all that fun stuff, please. And thank you coming here every single day at 2 p.m. Eastern, unless Pete tries to, usurp us from our time slot for good reason. We'll allow it today. We'll allow it. But today a little bit later than before. Nez, the window is a little condensed right now because I have the solver pulled up. And the solver does work in the daily drafts to, protect the good people at ETR. I'm just going to use the solver-based ranks here, but I just wanted to use it a little bit in real time here and just show the people some of the things that I was discussing earlier and how, the feature only starts, once the draft starts here, as it says. But if we go to that drafts tab, that active tab, as I was alluding to, if you're multi-drafting and you're clicking on this, it does not work. So it only works once you're inside a draft. So it is really hard to multi-table with it, even if you want to, think this will ramp up your volume or something like that. But yeah, just give people a little look at what it does. And basically it just highlights the next guy up in their rankings. And you can input your own rankings, or you can input the ETR rankings, or right now it's just using the solver default rankings. So people will see that, it's pretty fucking safe, and you can now wave it at any time if you want here. So just for those who hadn't seen it yet or had only seen it in the capacity of the football videos, thought I would just put it on right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen it for daily NBA. It works for daily NBA?
Yep.
Let's see how it works.
Let's see. As I say that, features available once the draft starts, and it didn't start. Let's see. I'll give it a refresh here. There we go. So it just basically gives you a score based on their own projection. So they're telling us to take Karl Anthony Towns with this pick, and it's a 10 out of 10. Is that who you like, Nez, at 4?
It's fine. We're 4-5, so I would probably go Cat and Brunson anyways.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and do that one. And then it tells us Brunson is a 10 out of 10 pick here. It's telling us, this little white here is signifying that we already have one of those players to match from that game environment and there. But yeah, I don't know. Like from my estimation, so currently the display solver score is in beta right now. So they're going to be amending some stuff associated with it. It gets really tripped up by the out tags. I've noticed that. And then it doesn't have like positive or negative boosting characteristics associated with your lineup, which I think that's what people are fearful of in quotations, is like, oh, they're trying to tell us like this pick's so much better because I have these 2 previous picks. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that for a 2-game slate of like game environment. It's basically just fancy overlaying of whichever projections you put in there. So we could upload the unabated ones and put them in. Right now, we're using, as I alluded to, the solver default ones. We could put the ETR ones in. So it's kind of just conditional formatting for the rankings that are in there right now, and then telling you, monitoring which teammates you have. So like OG, for instance. Yeah, who do you like here?
I've been doing Jaden McDaniels here.
Okay. Interesting to see Spike flip the board a little bit with Kaminga at 9 with Derek White
Jesus.
and Kaminga at 9 and Jimmy Butler there at 1. We
Not
take
even with Tatum.
Jaden McDaniels here. It's telling us Draymond here for a 10, but Pods is also a 9-9. Like, we're talking fractions of fantasy points. Who's your favorite pick here?
This is where I've been doing OG.
And you like OG on a team with 2 Knicks?
Yeah, I don't really think too hard about that, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things
the Knicks play like 5 guys.
True. Yeah. That's one of the things I'd be really interested in. And one of my pieces of feedback associated with it is I don't know how you quantify that. I don't know how you build in those correlations, that sort of thing. So I would be very interested in hearing or seeing, what would potentially, sway the solver or any form of picker into telling us, this is a cap on these amount of teammates. That's bad. Now negatively correlated. So the projection is adjusting. It doesn't do any of those things. So I think maybe that's the next iteration of it for the daily games. But yeah.
It is a very pretty overlay.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you guys could see I haven't done any drafts in NBA yet today, or else we could go into the live tab, pull my exposures, and then in real time it would tell me how much of each of these I have right now. Zinger and Holiday would probably be my picks here. Nez, who do you like?
Definitely Porzingis. And I think I would go Holiday as well. Let me just see how I have that ranked at the moment. Yeah, I have Holiday over Dante.
Cool. So we got a full game correlated team here with Knicks and Boston, with the odd man out being Jaden McDaniels as a throw in at 12 there. Pretty chalky team here. We were kind of fucking around and using the solver just to show everyone more so than paying attention to this build. If this thing wins, I will eat my shirt on stream. There's a 0% chance this team wins.
Why do you think that?
It's just if this team wins, it's a 57-person dupe train.
Maybe.
If
Spike wins, he's going to be alone. I'll tell you that much.
Damn right. Spike made a great team. I respect the hell out of what Spike did. Love it. All right, I'm going to turn off that feature, close that out, get us back to full screen. Let's rip one more of those, Nez, and maybe have a little bit more fun than that one. Mix things up a little bit here, and then let's move on with the program.
You're gonna have to show me how to do that, because I'm strictly drafting the best players today.
Couldn't be me.
I'm aware.
Yeah. A little more nuance when it comes to the old draft games from your boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we find these outliers all the time, these crazy occurrences that keep happening in these games. Hallie dropping 12 fantasy points the other night, TJ McConnell not being drafted, outscoring him. These little nuances in the game here.
You're gonna have to just show me what's gonna happen. Give me the script.
Yeah, I don't have a good read on this slate. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, we roll the 4 here again. Maybe we'll do some mixing and matching, do something a little bit different. We'll see. Son of Kong is in a bunch of these. Gator JD's out here. Yeah.
The problem is you can't get too different at 4. You get too different, then you're giving the 2-hole a GM. I don't want to be that guy.
It's
I'll give the
true.
3-hole something to work with, something to post on Twitter. GMGM at Roto Run. You know, he can have it, but not the Ant Edwards drafter. He can't have one of these Knicks.
All right. Do. Full clock milk. This guy taking years off my life. Make this guy push the
nice.
plane. Brunson and Butler here.
Yeah, let's get different with the top 2 projected players.
Let's do it. Seems like a good way to start.
Dude, Respooked has Tatum 104 teams. That's crazy.
Anything's possible, man. 28, 25K
where
entries, man.
I've got Tatum 101 and I have 22%. Who's allowing this?
Sounds like you've been running bad, dude.
Tatum Hart, just over and over and over.
Yeah. Our guy Len Keith saying he would have a 100% Peyton Pritchard at ADP. Should keep it going here. Sprinkled him for some top scorer of the game stuff. That's cool.
Whoa.
Wow, Kuminga's really pushed up. Kuminga at 9.
Dude,
Is
this
ADP.
where, like, jeez, what am I missing something here? Like 9?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
He definitely has the second highest scoring ceiling on the Warriors. I will say that.
I mean, he's going over Josh Hart.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. I think I like the Knicks wings a little bit more. We're up here, Nez. Never Draymond. Pods is here. OG is here. Bridges is here. I think you're going to tell me OG and someone.
Well, I do like OG a lot, man. So I'm going to say OG, and you want to do Rudy?
Sure. I think Rudy is one of those outlier ceilings. Rudy's either going to be 14 fantasy points or he's going to be 35 fantasy points. So I like embracing some of that variance, especially on the right-hand side of the board where he kind of falls in the middle or closer to the left-hand side more frequently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ricky Lee said come bucket over Hart. Yeah, multiple drafts now. We've seen it.
Yeah, that's...
Pitch saying he doesn't mind it. Mix up the combos there. Some cum plus Tatum. He never falls to 4 or 5. I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's fair.
Yeah. If you had, let's not use the word solver. Let's use the word optimizer because I think it's kind of a better representation. Let's say you had one of those optimizers, Nez, of the you could perfectly allocate how many teammates were paired in basketball tonight, how many combos of, what at what position you would get. How many times do you think it would tell you to quote unquote flip the board or do something, a little crazy? Let's finish this pick and then you can answer that. Nas Reed probably negatively correlates a little bit with Rudy. Kristaps is here. We could scroll for Peyton Pritchard. What do you like?
Let's scroll for Peyton Pritchard. How many people are doing Peyton Pritchard with Brunson? None
of these fucking dorks.
And then, do you want to do Mitch Rob?
Not really. I think that kind of doesn't feel great with Brunson and OG.
I don't see why not, but okay. What about Dante?
Okay. Fine.
Bro, how do I win with you? I'm trying to get you. You just told me we drafted the chalkiest team of all time. I give you 2 scrolls in the 6th round, and you're poo-pooing me.
Nah, yeah, I'm poo-pooing you because we did the Gobert scroll and we did the Pritchard scroll. So now we get to take a good play. I was giving you the door open to do a good play.
Jesus Christ!
I've already done the scrolling for you. We got Contrarian at the start here because this combo is less replicated. than the other iterations of Jimmy Butler teams. And then we pushed up OG and we pushed up Rudy. So we flipped the board a little bit there. And then we scrolled for Peyton Pritchard. Great stuff. Great team. Dante sucks at basketball.
Now you're just lying.
Why do you want all the dudes who scored 1 fantasy point last game?
Why is that?
Why is that? Oh,
dorks
man.
will never do it.
It's true. It is true. All right, dude. Let's tie a bow on NBA segment there. There's just not a whole lot to talk about with this slate in terms of the intricacies of, the matchups, because we've seen it for the 4th time over here, low total games, that sort of thing. We talked about some of the adjustments that could be made and that sort of thing. I think Looney's probably worth a scroll, but I want to ask you that follow-up question. If you could kind of like optimize for this slate, like what kind of things would you do to logically not dupe yourself in terms of combo matching your 150 on a 2-game hoop slate?
I would be really concerned about rounds 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And probably setting a rule that says do not draft more than 50%. Like if I control F Tatum, Hart, and White, and I see 15 out of 15, that's not good.
Right.
I don't want to, or you know what I'm saying? If I type Tatum and it's 17, and this is in control F, I type White, I get 15, and I type Hart and I get 15. Like 50% of my Tatum teams should be confined to a certain combo.
Okay.
That is what I would do. And then it would inherently mix and match for me,
right,
with player 3.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's probably the most logical use case of it. What do you think it would tell you to do in terms of like scroll dynamics on a slate? Like how much projection worthy of being sacrificed with your last 2 picks?
Not a lot. That's why my player pool is so condensed. Like I know when it feels right, or I know when it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a lot on these 2-game slates. Like, no.
Yeah.
You're hoping somebody else does it in front of you.
Sure. If you utilized like let's say you had 150 and you ran the S words and you were using an optimizer to perfectly choreograph every single individual 6-person lineup. How many times in that 150 set of your exposures would Peyton Pritchard be paired with someone below him?
That would be like
about a 20. Connolly and below.
Oh, almost like never.
Interesting.
Almost never. Almost never.
Yeah, cool. Good exercise.
Yeah, we know way too much about the minutes in this.
Yeah.
Unless you tweak your projections to call for a blowout, like you would really need to like put your thumb on the scale.
Yeah, that checks out. We talked about the potential Warriors shakeup. Is there anything to be said about Sam Hauser returning this evening in terms of like, yeah, he's probably going to play 12 minutes and it's going to come at the expense of somebody?
I got nothing to say about it.
Okay. You don't think it matters where it comes from? You don't think it can come at the expense of Pritchard, Horford, Zinger?
If it does, like they're still in the top 24.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Enjoy the hoops drafting, my friends.
15K to first, man.
Yeah. 15K to first again.
Or Wait, is it
So
is it 15 or is it
no,
10? I
no,
know
it's
it's
10. I think it's 10.
115K.
Yeah, it's 10. It's 10. It's
Oh, okay.
10.
Because
It's 10 to first, but a greater distribution of the prize pool in this upper echelon.
got it. That's cool. I almost prefer
Yeah,
that
I do too.
on this slate specifically. If we had like
Mhm.
8 game slate, put that 15K up top. But for a slate like this,
Yeah,
that's the move.
yeah, fully agree with you
Hats off
there.
to Numi, Hope, and Brett.
Absolutely. All right, dude. Let's talk about some baseball. We got an 8 game slate here. We're finally done with Coors over the weekend. There, we didn't get to weekend winners and stuff. Admittedly, did not play a ton of slates on the weekend. I kind of got like 20 entries in here, 5 in there. Before I went on the ice on Friday night, I thought I was going to win the main slate for sure because I had 30% Jason Dominguez and nobody else drafted him, and I swapped all my other stuff to him, and
Wow.
somehow did not even sniff winning. Yeah,
Because you learned Brad MC3.
yeah, I guess so. And I had a good amount of Rockies too. Just found that one surprising. Nez, we will start kind of where we always start with our friend Roth and the weather over there. Jump on over. Anything that is jumping out as troublesome or worrisome to you. These first couple games aren't on the slate. It kind of looks like maybe a little bit of Atlanta stuff. It looks like uh, Wrigley Field is playing a little down for bats, which is a place that we traditionally gravitate towards when it is playing up for bats with the wind. But yeah, it looks like it's playing a little bit down. But we're not dealing with any of these crazy environments in which we were over the weekend, where we thought we were going to get a zillion runs in the minor league ballparks and a zillion runs at Coors, which we did for a couple of the nights, and then San Diego fell flat on their face yesterday. Just thoughts on the park factor stuff.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about anything today, really. Just kind of treating it mostly neutral across the board. Like there's not one weather spot today where I'm like really targeting
Mm-hmm. Yeah, checks out to me,
as
man.
far as just like weather.
Yeah, it does feel like a pretty just on the macro, it feels like a pretty balanced slate for lack of a good word. It feels like a bunch of mid everywhere, and then maybe 2 outlier pitchers that stand out in terms of strikeout rate to me. That's kind of how I see it. Do you see it similarly?
Yeah. I think this is a pretty like I am drawn to a couple of different spots, but
Mhm.
yeah, it does seem pretty flat, I will say.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the run totals will reflect that. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of 8s, 7s, that sort of thing. We can go back to Unabated and just look at the odds tracker in general there. But yeah, man, stuff looks pretty choose your own adventure today. We're dealing with the Paul Skeens in a tough matchup, who we haven't seen a big ceiling from in recent memory there, and we're dealing with a good strikeout matchup for Michael King as the 2 top SPs on the slate there. There was a little shakeup and wrinkle to the Yankees and Mariners game. Originally, we thought we were going to get Max Fried, aka Not Fried, and turns out we're going to get Clark Schmidt instead there. But outside of that, yeah, pretty ho hum slate. There's some Q tags. There's Ian Happ, who may or may not play today, but seems like he's trending in the right direction. And then there's Corey Seager, who came back from an absence there, homered twice, and then sat out yesterday. So, just some macro thoughts on the rest of the slate there, Nez.
I guess as far as like Seager goes, I think Seager will play, just
Okay.
like a Sunday rest spot, I think. So that Q tag's throwing a lot of people off. And yeah, pretty good time to draft if you want Corey Seager, because I feel pretty confident he's going to be in the lineup.
Okay, cool. They get the Rockies today, who have been one of the worst teams in baseball, but had a little bit of an explosion on Sunday there, and they get Chase Dollander. So, he's their number 1 pitching prospect, but we've primarily seen him at home. I think this is only his 2nd road start. So, any intrigue for him as a potential strikeout rate guy, or you're going to be on the Rangers bats there?
I'm not like heavily on Rangers, but he's an interesting, like very polarizing results that you can get from Dolander, where he may dazzle or he may get blown up. Uh, you know, so I do like him from a high K upside. I usually just play him in pick'ems whenever he's on the slate. I
Sure.
don't really draft him. And I'm not like stacking Rangers because this Rangers lineup is in a very interesting spot right now. So like I'm not like totally on Rangers today.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me. We'll get to some of the spots that you are liking and some of the individual hitters there in half a second. Here, I want to ask you a macro question because Shilly is asking it in the chat, and I believe we saw it one other day that we had some 5-man stacks get home of the contrarian variety. I've been seeing less few. I've seen less tomato. I've seen less Jay Witts. I've seen less just Brett in the lobbies this baseball season than ever before. Does that mean someone should be back in there doing the heavy lifting of jamming contrarian 5-man stacks? Are they so back as our guy Shilly is alluding to?
Well, a 5-man won was that yesterday? So I guess they are back, right?
Yep.
Oh, Seager is not in the lineup today.
Okay. Yeah, I was.
Or he's doubtful. I just saw. So
yeah, I was not
RIP
anticipating him
that
back.
take.
It sounded like he retweaked his hamstring, which is not great. But I don't know how you retweak your hamstring and still go yard twice. What a legend! Atlanta Braves saying he's seen few a couple times in the cycle. Okay. Just haven't been seeing as many onslaught stacks or as many people coming in here and autoing on onslaught stacks at the buzzer as usual. I've actually seen Nez kind of being the guy who's done the most of those. That's why I kind of asked the question here. Austin's asking for a 4-way pick and play from the MLB streets. Do you have anything that's tickled your fancy there, or you want to think about that while we go into the slate?
It depends on how you want to attack it. Of course, I've got angles. It's just how do we want to play it?
Okay. All right. Well, maybe let's go a slightly more contrarian approach to us attacking this slate. Before we get to the rankings, let's get to the old pick'ems tab and see what our guy Nez has cooking. Yeah, thoughts, dude.
You got the Royals at Houston. So thinking about Bobby Witt or Sal Perez home run today against Gusto. What do you think about either of those?
I like the Crawford boxes for right-handed swings for sure. They're not jumping off the page for me, but they're definitely looking pretty solid. So yeah, I wouldn't fight you on those ones. Let's look at the odds and price tags associated with them. 250 in for Sal. That's kind of gross. A 211 for Bobby Witt. Oh, yeah, I might go fantasy points direction if you want to play Kansas City, opposed to going home run price tags on those ones. Wow, Isak Paredes getting a 4.43 at home. This Houston lineup came to life a little bit over the last couple days, eh?
Yeah. Being at home helps because they're so right-handed heavy.
Yeah, this Zach DeZenzo guy has like a 11-game hit streak going. Jose Altuve missed yesterday. Jake Myers had a 10-game hit streak going, and they were hitting in the middle of the order. Yadi Diaz went yard yesterday. So, yeah, a little something cooking in this Houston side of things.
Yeah, I like those guys to homer, but I understand not necessarily loving the multiplier on that. Let's do Cody Bellinger. He's 3x against your boy Emerson Hancock.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. And Emerson Hancock has been really bad against lefties this season. Yeah.
And then let's look at David Peterson going up against the Pirates.
Ooh, tempt me with a good time.
And let's get him to just like 8Ks. Nothing crazy.
I like this as a little two play. Now,
Yeah.
now you're speaking my language here. We're getting some good prices here. We're getting a two cooker out here. I like that, Nez.
There we go.
Little belly bomb, who robbed us directionally accurate on Friday's show there, where we played the belly bomb plus Jay Langliers, someone like that, and one of them got home and Belly sat the game. So if we had just had Jason Dominguez instead of Belly, but Belly ended up sitting the Friday game, and we would have homered. So we got robbed. So we got to get it back on the Belly stuff there. When extender NBA? Ooh, that's a good question too. Yesterday's extender, I think maybe we save that one till tomorrow, Nez, unless you have.
I didn't get my game 4 extender in yet, so I do need to put that together.
Okay, so I've already put mine in. So maybe Nez will cook something up for you there, because I put mine in and put it in the Discord there for everybody yesterday, and it fucking slapped, dude. It was all the best unabated plays. We went 4 for 5, and then for whatever reason, Pascal Siakam decided to go 9 for 10 from the field and blow the last leg of it up.
Oof.
Oof. Oof. Pascal, dude. Yeah, do you have anything NBA related you want to sit on that for a half second? Let's maybe finish the MLB segment, and then maybe you'll have something cooked up by then.
Yeah. Let me just play around here for a second.
Okay, cool. Any more thoughts on a potential MLB pick'em for the people? Anything else that was jumping out to you?
No, I mean, if you want to do fantasy points for Bobby Witt, I think Bobby Witt fantasy points is a great start.
Okay. I was thinking of another home run one. We could do like a home run plus Bobby Witt's fantasy points. Like that seems like a good way to get like a cheeky little one.
Okay. As far as home runs go,
I was looking at some of this Willem Contreras price tag here. I was looking at maybe like a Langford or a Dolis. Sorry, to sneeze. What's Vinny P's price tag? Because we could play the same narrative. Then we'd have to add a third because they're on the same team. We could play the same narrative, but get a better price on Vinny P. It's still only 249. Yeah, they're the underdog lobbies are wise today to the potential of the Royals.
Yeah, they are not sleeping on our Royals.
What about?
I see Austin really wants this 4-player pick'em.
4-player. Okay.
Let's do King, and then this is not going to be what you think. This is going to be our first lower of the day. Let's go lower fantasy points on Michael King.
Ooh, spicy.
That's because we've got Kikuchi on the mound on the other end. He could potentially keep a win off the board for Michael King, which is like a win is essentially baked in to the fantasy score here. So if Kikuchi can do his part, and Michael King's been way inconsistent for me anytime I try to play him. So we'll do that. Let's look at Skeens, another potential lower, because if he's got to be, so he's 36.5 fantasy points. I just don't think he's getting the win today.
Okay.
And then do you have another player that you like offhand to play here? Is there anything for Trent Grisham? Because I think he's going to lead off today. He doesn't have any fantasy points.
Yeah, no fantasy points. He's got runs, but it's whatever. Stolen bases we're not touching. Yeah, maybe like total bases, but it's not the most comfortable click in the world with a guy like him.
Yeah.
What about Cubs? I think we kind of low key like the Cubs, do we not?
Yeah, they're up against Cal Quantrill, so it's always a fun spot.
Yeah. Wow. Nico Horner with a 10.71 for a home run.
That means he's going yard today. What about PCA fantasy points higher? Like that's just easy.
Yeah, I like it a lot more if we knew Ian Happ was out of the lineup because that means he'll lead off. If Ian Happ's back in, he might get buried again at like 6-7. But he's been going so nice right now that it feels fine.
Yeah, I'm into it.
All right. 25 USD, 1 BBM entry gets you to that 300 USD mark. Not quite paying for BBM today, but we're having some fun out here. All right, Nez, let's go back to the rankings here and talk about your favorite and least favorite pitchers on the slate. We did just do some of those lowers there. I do think it is kind of like a 2-horse race at the top here, and then there's a secondary tier to it, and then I'm kind of down with some of the scrolls today. But that's a little evergreen with me. Thoughts on the Skeens versus King versus pitching in general?
Yeah, I'm definitely Skeens over King. But these guys do look good, and because today doesn't have any like major hitting conditions popping off the slate, I like getting to these two guys. But I like David Peterson a lot today too against the Pirates, especially if O'Neal Cruz doesn't play. If O'Neal Cruz is out of the lineup, the Pirates have no way to produce runs. They just cannot do it.
Yeah.
So Peterson against Pittsburgh looks incredible.
Yeah, the one nice thing you could say about the Pirates in general with no Cruz in the lineup is they'll run out 9 righties or 9 righties plus switch hitters, which is like the one nice thing you could say about the lineup. But I'm in lockstep with you here. I like the David Peterson spot today. I agree with your scrolling of the Ks there. I think he is he's primed for a nice start today by way of the Ks.
Yeah, he's like one of my favorite clicks today.
Yep, fully agree. Do you like Tyler Malley's had a really nice start to the year here? Do you like him?
Yeah, I love Tyler Mahle today. Rockies had some nice, games at home there, but that was at home. Now they're
I'd say game.
Game, sure. Yeah, they did lose 21-0, right?
Yeah.
Nice game at home, but against Tyler Mahle, man, I think Mally's been going so nice lately.
Mm-hmm.
I like Tyler Mahle a lot. Like these top 4, I feel great about.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Mahle, he's primed to be a regression candidate at some point. It's probably not coming at the expense of the Rockies today, so that seems pretty good there. Kind of next tier here, Nez, of I guess 5 through 10 are all pretty close in my estimation. I'm kind of going to a little bit of the scrolly variety, just maybe a little bit of leverage in the fact that they aren't getting drafted at 100% frequency when I deem them to be decently close. So I actually like Yusei Kikuchi and Clark Schmidt the best out of these next kind of like 8. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like Kikuchi today. The fact that he's in San Diego, I think is good for him. It's like a night and day switch for the Padres to go
Marine layer.
To go from Coors to San Diego is crazy. Schmidt, I'm not really getting to as much.
Okay.
I have been looking at Waka more and Verlander, but yeah, I mean it's a good matchup against Seattle. They like I get it, but that's just like what I've been looking at so far is those two guys.
Yeah, Seattle's been better against righties than they have been against lefties this season now, which is weird because that flipped over the last like 2 weeks or something like that. But they've been okay. They haven't been amazing against both, but they're not the same strikeout matchup that they were last year. And there was something good from Nick, what's his name, pitcher list on Twitter there this morning that like strikeouts in general are down at T-Mobile. And I asked a question, he didn't respond, but I asked, why he kind of thought that. Was it the absence of, Kirby, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo being a regression candidate, and, Mariners offense just being halfway decent against some bad teams that they've hosted? That was kind of my takeaway. Not 100% certain on that one, but yeah, what are your thoughts just in general about, Mariners strikeout matchup? Because it was a place we used to always go for pitching, and it just hasn't been really working this year.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because that stuff's supposed to be, uh, it's all like weighted. It's not just like raw number of strikeouts. It's like all relative. So yeah, I don't know. I think strikeouts at parks is like 90% noise.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just don't. I'm not really like thinking about it too much.
Okay. While we were talking there, Nez, you were cooking behind the and Bryce Miller hasn't been great either. That's a good shout there. While you were talking, we were also cooking behind the scenes here. Here is the extender. I don't have a boost to add to it. I have to wait until game 5 because I already used it. So this is this extender one. For me was only a 12x. Kaminga with the higher on the points, which is scary. Please, Kerr, don't be an idiot. And then Peyton Pritchard and OG with the 3 is there. 2 guys that we just drafted and happened to like. Link is in the chat for everyone there as Nez was cooking behind the scenes. Anything else to say on the pitchers on the slate here? Merrill Kelly, Grant Holmes has been hit or miss. Obviously, kind of like Washington lefties a little bit more than I like Grant Holmes, but I'll probably play both. Colin Ray had a okay start. Mid-ass professional right-handed pitcher here, but he gets a pretty lackluster matchup for an opposition there in the Marlins. So any potential to go there, who's he's had a couple okay starts throughout, but the underlying stuff that I was looking at doesn't look like Colin Ray is anything other than what he's been in the past.
Yeah, I'm not really getting outside of this 8.
Okay. So no Grant Holmes, no Merrill Kelly, and no Colin Ray for you.
No, I'm just gonna stick to these guys for my player pool for my purposes.
Perfect. Who is the best and or worst priced players on the slate today?
Ooh, I kind of thought today looked pretty good as far as the ordering of the players today. Mm-hmm. I'll say this is bold, but I think Manny Machado probably the most overpriced player today.
Okay, just a Coors hangover effect.
Yeah. And I think people are opening up the player card, looking at the box scores, and maybe seeing a lefty. And clicking his name and stacking with Tatis is how they're getting there.
Cool. Yeah, man. I like that. I think that'll be a very commonly utilized pairing at the 106 today because you do see a lot of people doing the Cubs thing, Judge and Bobby Witt, who projects really well, more so than Tatis today. Then Tatis falls a little bit, and the 2 pitchers tend to go in the first round, and that leaves Tatis plus Machado at the 106 quite frequently.
Yeah, I'm not really on that today.
Okay. Let's talk about our stacks, man. Let's talk about our favorite stacks here. As you guys can see on the screen, outfield heavy early, including the 2 pitchers, and then outfield kind of dips a little bit. But if we get some of these Q tags in, Jackson Merrill and Ian Happ, those are some quality bats that are buried right now that would probably be a little bit higher, but nothing too crazy. You could play Seattle for leverage sake. You could play Trent Grisham, as you alluded to, because you think he's leading off. We have Evan Carter confirmed leading off today, so maybe a little boost in his value. Jock Peterson finally hit a home run over the weekend, his first of the year. It was on Saturday. Vinny P is buried down here, and you saw his home run odds when we were in the pick'em of 2-3 or 2-4. Whatever it is. So Vinny P looks kind of nice to me, buried down there. Thoughts, Nez?
I right now have a lot of Washington stacks with Abrams and James Wood. Just kind of shocked that they're as easy to pair as they are. So that's been like such an easy click for me to get to. Pretty shocked at the Braves prices as well, but I mean the Braves just are just going to continue to rug us slate after slate. But I'm going to keep chasing it.
Do you think there's any?
I do.
Jake Irvin. We haven't talked about him a lot, but we deem him as professional ass pitcher with an asterisk because he does have the propensity to get blown up at times. He hasn't been on. I mean, Nationals in general haven't been on a lot of main slates this season there. But yeah, just thinking about the Atlanta one and the Washington one. Is there any potential rain out, rain delay baked into these price tags? Because it is kind of like the one spot. I think everything's going to be fine tonight, but do you
Yeah,
think that's maybe funneling people away from it?
probably,
Okay.
probably.
Yeah.
But I'm putting on a brave face and getting after it.
Okay, cool. We got some cold hitting conditions in Wrigley, but the Wrigley bats seem to be priced up on the Cubs side. Is that something you like this evening?
Yeah, I didn't think that it was gonna like be the best stack by a large margin, but like it is. Um, so I'm getting to it, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with the by the degree it's the best stack to get to, but I'm not ignoring that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Some other random notes that I was just thinking of here now that I'm looking through some of the lineups on the Underdog tweet machine there. As you mentioned before, Corey Seager is definitively out. Jose Altuve has returned, and in the second hole, Evan Carter leading off there. As we said, Jake Berger also back in the 7 hole there. PCA is leading off. Ian Happ is out, so we officially have that confirmation there. So PCA looks like a better pick atop there. Yeah, you can do some cheap stacking with the Cubs because Carson Kelly and Michael Busch are buried in terms of our ADP, and they're both hitting 4 and 5 in the mid 30s there. So if you want to go by way of that, Eli White's been good this year, so do with that what you will. He's in the 8 hole today. Ozzy Albies has not been great. Yeah, that's kind of the macro that I see of lineups that are out right now. Usual business as usual for the Mets. Mets are a little expensive for my liking, Lindor in particular versus Skeens, but the Soto price tag, you can still get to Juan Soto against anyone. And,
yeah,
Gen wealth opportunities in parentheses here with Juan Soto in the 30s if you want to be the guy who loads up on Soto in a bad matchup. Yeah, that was kind of the macro notes that I had for lineups, Nez. Yeah, I think Mariners probably going to run out a bunch of lefties with like Rowdy Tellez, Leody Tavares as a switch hitter, and JP Crawford, who's been good at the top of that lineup. I don't have a lean on Jackson Merrill. If you have a lean on that, that'd be
it doesn't
cool.
seem good.
Okay.
Fresh off an injury, immediately hurt again, or illness, I
Yeah.
guess. But like,
Late scratch yesterday.
yeah, I'm not even getting there, so like it's fine.
Okay.
I am I'm liking the Giants today. That's probably that's an evergreen for me. But
Okay.
I keep trying to get the Giants right.
Yeah, Giants had a nice two nice games over the weekend there. When they get away from their home park, they're just so much more formidable from a home run ceiling standpoint, like because they do have some pop in this lineup with Adames, with Holy, with Flores versus lefties, with Ramos versus lefties, with Chapman all the time. Like they have some good baseball players who have some pop. It's just
Yeah.
when they're in their home park, it's just it's so hard to play them.
Yeah, they've gotten home at home before though. So like
Yeah.
I just hope that people stay away. And
Yeah, and you're the guy gobbling it up.
yeah, exactly. That's the
Okay,
that's the play.
I like it. Favorite stack on the slate, Nez?
Yankees.
Yankees. Okay,
Another
cool.
not great spot to hit, but if there's one thing I'm doing in this life, it's targeting Emerson Hancock in DFS.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. Emerson hand cooked, if you ask me.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, you're right. You were right all
IMO.
along. Yeah, you were right all along on that one. All right, let's hop in and see what it looks like. A variety of contests on the site today. I've done a handful of the $7 ones. There's the triple play, which is the cheap price point, and 3 entry. There was the big fly for $100 there, and then there was double entry today. The sack fly. There is a double
I
entry.
missed that.
So yeah, I think it's still on the site. Let me
Oh, okay, good.
confirm. Yeah, sack fly, double entry at the $5 price point. Yep, still there. 500 to first, only a 400 person field there. So get it in there if you want to not deal with the sicko 150 maxers. You know these sick puppies out here using their auto draft tools versus the kids.
These
Those are your.
absolute losers.
You know what's one thing I have heard that I tend to kind of agree with is you mitigate the necessity for tools by raising the buy-in price point and lowering the amount of entries in contests, which I kind of agree with, but you also raise the variance night over night
Yeah.
distinctly because the RNG associated with draft slot. So, if you only did 2 baseball drafts a night, well, you might not even have access to the plays you want to play kind of deal. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's like a catch-22.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately, you got to keep it how it is.
Yeah. All right, Fernando Tatis Jr. goes there. Kyle Tucker goes there. We have our choice between Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens, and Bobby Witt Jr. Who do you like this evening?
Aaron Judge.
Sounds good. Visions burned into my memory bank there of Aaron Judge at Safeco Field hitting one into the left field bleachers. That clip that they play at nauseum during commercials on MLB TV, and he hits it into the upper deck of Safeco Field. I was there that night, and it lives rent free anytime I see Aaron Judge is coming to Seattle.
Were you at that game? You said?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be pretty fun to see Aaron just demolish a baseball, though.
You know who hit one almost as far or maybe even further in that ballpark to the exact same spot when I was there, Nez? Miguel Sano.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I think it was almost the exact same spot. Yeah. As you alluded to, Nez, Manny Machado comes back to us. No one's really interested in that. We could build out some Yankees stack. We could do the Washington thing that you alluded to, James Wood and CJ Abrams.
Yeah, I'm down with that or a Brave stack.
Let's do this. This was the first one you talked about. Let's do some of those Washington lefties. We haven't had Washington on the main slate in a minute. Give us a chance to build that one out. Seedmeister going with the Wyatt Langford stuff. We see a PCA plus Bobby Witt Jr. start. We see Vindy stacking up Cubs there. Ricky has the San Diego stack, but going on the left side of the board there. Yeah, I guess we do CJ Abrams here. Peterson just went, so we're not going to have that decision now, Nez.
These top four pitchers go so early. Yeah, let's do Abrams.
Yeah, let's do Abrams, and then I think probably at least one Yankee, maybe two here, or we could do 3 Washington and then another one-off that you like. Building a standard issue 3-2 on stream doesn't really sound like my music right now.
I know.
But
Well, I mean, 2-2-1 is you got to stay kosher. We can't just be clicking buttons out here. We gotta keep our good clean structure.
Yeah, damn right. Planet Surf appreciating the Miguel Sano reference there. Thought he was going to the moon. So did I. I thought he was a good baseball player. Yeah.
R.I.P.
He had a big ass hole in his swing, but I thought he could hit bombs and figure it out.
I'll never forget like the bombshell whenever he got demoted, like out of nowhere. Like that was truly it.
Yeah.
Once he got the demote, it was done.
Yeah. Belly goes there, so we've lost our ability to do that with Yankees. You said Trent Grisham is in play. We could still do some Atlanta if you just wanted to do like one-off Riley. What do you like, Nez?
One-off Riley sounds fun. Like, maybe no one's playing this game because they're worried about the rain, and we get a little one-off Austin Riley paired with, I don't know how many people are going to do that.
Okay, cool. Now to land this plane, would you want to do another Yankees lefty like Ben Rice or Trent Grisham? Ben Rice just went, so we're not going to have that decision. And if I know Ricky, he's going to take Trent Grisham next as well. So we're probably not going to have that decision there. I guess maybe a third Washington piece is the nicest way to land this plane. Do you have a favorite from Washington to add to this stack?
Probably Nate Lowe.
All right, Nate Lowe is going to hit third today, so we're going to do the 1, 2, 3 of the lefties at the top of the lineup there. Yep, as I suspected, Trent Grisham goes next there. So we'll look up our nationals here. We will add Nate Lowe to this one. He homered yesterday, so maybe a sign of things to come. One of the worst ADPs in, I'll die on that hill, one of the worst ADPs in season-long basketball. Yeah.
Was it? Was it still? I mean,
I still don't think it's good.
I think there's been worse than old Nathaniel Lowe.
Yeah, probably my guy Tolia and Nolan Jones. That's that stack aged like fucking milk.
we all make mistakes.
Yeah. Jorge Polanco. So Johnny Bags going with a little bit of a contrarian stack and using Belly as a one-off. We have the SP decision here. Merrill Kelly's at the top, but I think both you and I like the ceiling K potential of Kikuchi more.
Yeah, a little bit of double bubble with Tatis and Machado going so high.
Yeah, we're gonna take down Vin Deep's team by you say blanking them with 7 Ks tonight.
That feels good.
Yeah, not bad. Little 3-man Washington stack there on Austin Riley and an Aaron Judge to go home there. Nez, we have done the talk about the auto drafters. We have done the hoop slate. We have done the baseball slate. Any final words on baseball and or hoops for the people before we close with the greatest segment of all time?
No, I'm just hoping to get more. I got a busy afternoon, bunch of bullshit, but hoping to get more baseball drafts in before the slate kicks off.
All right. So without further ado, everybody's favorite segment of the show, not favorite time, not to be confused. That would be the end. It is not the end yet. We are doing the Monday puck drop. One last draft here. We are dusting off the model with Nez here. By the sounds of it, Edmonton is going to stick with Stuart Skinnard in net. I had a little bit of a rant in the Deposit Kingdom puck channel there the other day about the kicking motion that led to the goal. And puck don't lie, because Mikko Rantanen scored right after that in the Dallas game yesterday. Edmonton, after taking 2, then swiftly drop a couple there to the Vegas Golden Knights here. So we got some friends and family in here. Chris is in here. Pitch is in here. Inthrius is in here. Notes on the slate. There's a couple Vegas guys coming back in. I misspoke last week on one of the Vegas guys. Olafson's going to move down to power play 2 because Pavel DeRove whatever is coming back in the lineup in PP1 there. They were missing one of the defensemen for one of the games, and now everybody is back. My boy, local legend, Nez, Troy Stetcher, making his return this evening. The Edmonton Oilers. Shout out to Troy. Hopefully he plays well this evening. Yeah, man. We had these guys last time. We dusted off the model, Nez. We had these same 2 teams on here, and I'm very fearful you're going to pick the wrong game yet again. What is the model telling us to do here with our guy Leon Draisaitl on the next up here? What's the model telling us to do?
It's telling us there's some severe weather on the horizon, and we need to go to Raising Cane's.
Oh no! Who do you want, Sebastian Aho?
Yeah.
Okay. I knew he was gonna go to the wrong game again.
No, dude, you got to go Canes. Are you crazy? Why? What's wrong with the Canes today?
Who likes Raising Cane's more, you or Post Malone?
Well, Post Malone, because they pay him a lot of money. So I like their chicken, but he probably likes getting paid more than I like eating chicken fingers and special sauce.
That's a deep dive reference for anyone who's been around long enough to know that Nez and Bria went to a Raising Cane's opening sponsored by Post Malone and stood outside for 3 hours. It was his special
store. They colored it blue for Post Malone and the Cowboys. And they didn't pay him enough to perform, but he did come out and say hi.
All right. Draisaitl goes next. Eichel goes next. Freddie Anderson goes next there. Logan Thompson goes. Man, attendees are flying a little bit here. Nez, do we have to stake our claim on Aiden Hill here, or are you feeling bullish on Stuart Skinner this evening and we can go in another direction?
You think we'll get Jarvis and Andre on the way back?
We'll get one of them for sure.
Then go Skinner.
Oh, if you want Skinner, you can just take one of these guys now.
All right.
If you want Skinner, you can fucking have him. Unless Chris doesn't want to stack against himself. Like if he takes Bouchard there, now we're just going to get Aiden Hill. All right, fine. That's what we wanted anyways. Okay. We don't want Skinner, man. Skinner's a fucking sieve right now.
Well, the Knights aren't feeling so good today, is what I'm being told. But there's got to be Jarvis, right?
I'm good with it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be good with that. Sure, we can do the Svechnikov plus Seth Jarvis thing. I mean, we're just, your model is falling away from its roots, Nez. The model used to have a scroll built in to tell us that it was a 2-gamer, that it was puck, that anything can happen, and now we're just putting chalk first lines together out here. How are we going to get different with these next 2 picks?
Well, it's hard with these 2 games. It's not so easy to scroll down. Yeah, we needed Ovi, but pitch took him.
I mean, hat tip to me again about being fully right about the Ovi stuff is he doesn't touch the ice if they have a lead. He sits on the bench for the last 5 minutes of the game. It's not like the regular season where he's out on the ice, getting those empty netters and that sort of stuff. Ovi is not playing anywhere close to his regular season minutes, and rightfully so. I think you're right directionally with the Washington stuff. I think we should scroll the F down for a Washington D-man and a Washington forward here. Would you prefer Chychrun or Carlson for a Washington defenseman?
Chychrun every day.
All right.
Always Chychrun.
Now we're going to have to scroll really, really far for a Washington forward to pair alongside it. Reminder to everyone that if you are pairing lines together, the Washington Capitals are one of the teams who happen to play 2 defensemen on the power play together there. So their first unit power play will have that. I'm thinking of a dude here.
Okay.
Let's put, I mean, we could go one off from Vegas as well if that tickles your fancy, but I don't think it pairs as well. I don't want Strome because he'll be tethered to Ovechkin so much. Tom Wilson can go fuck himself. Oh, he's off the board anyways.
Strong.
Let's scroll down here. Connor McMichael. Connor McMichael is probably the best of the bunch down here. Going to play a bunch of minutes.
The real Connor McJesus.
Yeah, the real Connor McJesus.
Let's go.
Buried down here. Connor
I like
McMichael.
that.
There we go.
I'm down with that.
Play some good minutes. He'll be on power play 2. He'll get some shifts out there with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Tom Wilson. I do think they'll have a little shift up in Washington this evening. Where's Protas? So Protas is kind of buried down here because he was working his way back from an injury and he was on the 4th line and then the 3rd line. He did score in one of the games. I do think he's kind of working his way back up the lineup. So I do think if you're looking for that contrarian Washington piece to play with, Ovechkin or play with Strome that other people aren't going to get it to, I think that's the click this evening.
Who do you got winning the cup right now?
That's a tough question, man. I think there's a lot of good teams. I really like how the Stars look right now. There's no denying the heater that Miko's on, and they're slowly just going to get better as, Robertson, comes back to full strength, and as Miro comes back, Heiskanen coming back will mean so much for that team. And I think they can rival anyone with goaltending when Ottinger plays his best, which is, can't be said for some of the other teams. I think the Oilers look really good for stretches and then look really bad for stretches. I feel very similar about Toronto. They look very good for stretches, then look very bad. And most of that revolves around goaltending. I think Florida and Dallas as them versus one another. I think Carolina has the easiest path in quotations. I think Carolina has severely outplayed the Capitals in those games. They just haven't been able to score. I mean, they've been puck dominant, and yeah. But I gun to my head right now, I would say the Dallas Stars. I think I like the Dallas Stars right now. What's the model like, Nez?
I think Car Park might be onto something.
What's Car Park got in the chat for us? Bake
Toronto.
McJesus and Wash? Yeah.
Like, yeah. Is it just like so silly to believe in the Leafs?
I don't think it's silly. I think their blue line depth is becoming very apparent, something that they didn't have recently, and they've gotten this far without Matthews playing well. Whereas other teams have been very reliant on their top scorers. Like, they've gotten this far and Matthews hasn't been scoring. So if they get Florida out of the way, yeah, they got a path, right?
Speaking of the Car Park, dude, I went to early dinner, late lunch, at this nice outdoor spot in where I'm at in Texas. Just like you, brother, saw a Dirty Hands Clean Money shirt in the wild.
Dude, it's sweeping the nation right now. It's sweeping the continent right now.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
The Trollco's no joke, man. Car Park, you think he's a menace in the streets? He's a menace in the fashion streets right now, dude. We got to get some fresh gear from our kid.
His targeted ads must just be like on point. Only like somehow knowing who has the most testosterone like online, and then like targeting these dudes, and like
he's taking all the money that he wins on Underdog and he's funneling it straight to Instagram ads for guys like me.
Like like the dude, the massive dude, huge back on this guy. I wasn't gonna let him know that I know I'm very familiar with the owner of the shirt that you're wearing, but
right, yeah, he's my best friend on the internet.
Yeah,
hat tip to the old head. So cool. Hat tip to the old head of winning, dropping on by. He's asking if we're going to be selling some Stream Solver. I mean, maybe you got the Stream Solver, man. We got to get those snapback jack style views around here, man. You've cracked the code, not us. We'll buy the Stream Solver from you, bro. It's so good, man. Much love to you as well, my friend. All four of his Zamboni teams left for pitch. Have Toronto. Best of luck to him. All right, guys, if you want some of the talk on the solvers and our thoughts and the future of the games and stuff, we covered it for about half an hour at the beginning there. I'm sure we'll touch on it far more after an Underdog statement and that sort of thing in the future. But just evergreen reminder that all the opinions that we expressed are directly from us and have no affiliation with the company, that sort of thing there. Any parting words for the people outside of that, Nez?
No, I'll see you in the lobbies. That's for damn sure.
See you in the lobbies. Scroll back in the chat there for a couple of the extender pick'em and a couple baseball pick'ems. Best of luck if you are battling in the puck streets, the baseball streets, or the massive NBA playoff streets for this evening. Outside of that, Mr. Good Boy's time to go to the park. Everybody's favorite time of the show. The end. Peace.